We have an amazing panel with aspiring CDAs. And with us, we have Jonida, Miriam, and Kid. And let me tell you a bit about them. So Jonida is a managing Salesforce architect at Sales5. She has, like, I think many of these people on the screen right now, more than 20 Salesforce certifications, and is on her journey to become a CTA. She's also part of SIMA, which I believe is a Salesforce Architects in the Making group. And we are very happy to have her with us for the first time. And Miriam, you might have known her, you might have seen her in the Amsterdam user group before, and she is a Salesforce Solution Architect Director with Salesforce. And before joining Salesforce, she already had lots of years of experience as a consultant and independent architect. She also has more than 20 certifications. And a very interesting and exciting fact is that Miriam has her pre-board scheduled for mid-February, if I'm correct, Miriam. So yeah, we're very happy to have her now, that she could find some time in mid of that preparation. So thank you for being with us. And Kid, just like Miriam, was with us before at Amsterdam User Group. You might have heard his presentation on how he achieved a number of certifications. I don't remember anymore how many in a very short time. And Kid is a managing technical architect in Capgemini. And I believe Kid created or founded CTA study group, the one in Benelux that Lilith was mentioning. And I think that there were a number of CTAs coming out of that group. So that's really exciting. And we are happy to have all three of them. So Justina, I'll let you take over the panel and hear what our panelists have to say.
Woohoo! So I think that we can leave this slide to make or with the pictures, because we will, but maybe the slide to be. So we have a few questions. If you have more questions, please put it in the chat. We'll come back to there later. So we have Jonida, Miriam, Kid. Maybe because we just started to talk about this group CTA in preparation. Kid, can you, as a person who was at the founding of the group, can you just share with us, if someone wants to join, what are the prerequisites to join this group?
Yeah, of course. So I started this group about 2.5 years ago, a little over that. And the reason behind it was that back in the day, there were very little resources available for you to bridge the gap between having your prerequisites, so having system architect and application architect. There was no board evaluation in between back then. And then doing the review board, which, as Lilith explained, takes the majority of the time. So back then I started this study group with Sergey and Georgi, and nowadays Jonida is also part of the organizing team. And what we said is that we want to focus on the final stage of the preparation for the review board. So as Lilith called it, the last mile, but a little more than that. But for the people that already have the prerequisites, so already have system architects and application architects, and are already in the process of doing mocks. And this group is then to give you the opportunity to present to a large number of people, with quite a few CTAs in there as well who can judge. And we also invite CTAs from time to time to as guest judges to judge on your mock. For instance, Sebastian Wagner, the founder of Flow Republic, Cole Brundage, very famous CTA at OSF, I believe. Andrew Hart, another very famous CTA. So we invite big names as well. So that's
Lilith, of course, she's
of course,
also
Lilith,
a big name.
Yeah,
and she's a lot there. So I'm judging.
Yeah, Lilith is, I think, the most attending member of our group, apart from myself. She attended, like she said, pretty much all the mock sessions in our group during her own preparation, but also after she became CTA, she still joins almost all of them and also judges very regularly. So that's very much appreciated.
Okay, so then if someone is ready, have the prerequisites, and is ready for the final mockups, can contact you and join the group, and then proceed and make it final.
Yeah, I can share a link in the chat later on, but I have to say that we are quite strict in managing the group. So Prereqs is one, the other one is active participation, because what we saw, especially in the past, is that quite a few members join the group and then maybe attend only 1 or 2 sessions, or only attend once every couple of months. And that's not the idea behind this group. The group is really to focus on the most dedicated, most experienced architects in the community that really want to go for CTA in, let's say, the next year, 2 years at most, but quite a few also in the last half year of the preparation. So right now, for instance, our presenting queue is filled until the end of March, and the vast majority of those people all have their review board usually about a month after their mock with us, just to give you an idea of how many people in our group are targeting the board on a very short notice.
Cool. I want to come back to the beginning. So I'm curious, what triggered you guys to start this CTA journey? What was the moment, or you got inspired, or how did you decide to even start this journey? And I will ask this time Jonida.
Oh, wow. So when I started, actually with Salesforce, I had already SAP CRM consultancy experience, and then I kind of was hooked up with Salesforce and changed to Salesforce. And then I met this really crazy guy called Johann Fuhrmann, and yeah, we worked together like about 4 years in a startup which grew from, I don't know, from 80 people when I came to 1,000. So we first had like this accidental admin experience, and then later on we had like 3 sprint teams, and we had to do a lot of product ownership and of course a lot of best practices and a lot of governance and stuff. And I had the opportunity basically to work with Johann, and he's a very inspiring person. So he was like all the time studying, like, and I always thought, why are you working all the time in your free time, Johann? What's happening there? I thought he was completely crazy. Why can't he just relax, you know? But then it was like we had so many struggles to do, and he came up with a lot of new solutions. And we had a lot of responsibility, so it was great to see how he was growing, and I felt like I need to do this as well. It's nice. And then I went to San Francisco, 2018, I think, and saw Gemma, and she was telling something about, yeah, the CTA, that's great, please start it. So she was also one very inspiration person. That's why I wanted to start it.
Cool. Miriam, what's your story?
Thanks, Justina. Yeah, so for me, it's all about, there's not really a single moment that inspired me or made me want to go on this journey. It's basically more about the approach that I have to learning in general. I think I'm going to be like Lilith, if I pass, right? But that I'm going to keep on studying and doing certs, and because it's just, for me, getting the best out of myself is just a way of being, right? It's really something that I like to do. And so if I see something like a picture of a pyramid, then that kind of, that does it for me, right? That means that I want to get to the top of that pyramid, because it's there. So I want to aspire to it. So that's basically what started me off. So I kind of been planning on doing this for quite a while. And like Jonida, I started first in the Siebel world, so different CRM product. So it was also a way, of course, for me to get better up to speed on Salesforce technology, possibilities, functionalities, etc. And that's the other part of what's sustaining me on the journey, is that doing the work also gives a lot back, right? Both in terms of indeed like community, but also just being a better architect or a better consultant for my customers. So that's kind of what keeps me going.
Thank you. And Kid, how did you start it? Why did you start this journey?
It's actually a couple of reasons. I was introduced to the whole CTA journey shortly after I started with Salesforce in 2016, 2 employers back. And at the time, it seemed like something unachievable, I must say. But then when I joined my the next employer in Salesforce, I got this feeling that it was possible to become an architect. I had a couple more certifications, and I started with the prerequisites. Not per se to already aim for CTA at that point. Was an ambition, but not say a very concrete or even realistic ambition at the time. But I did want to become an architect. So that was my first step, just become architect. And in order to do that, I wanted to prove to my employer that, well, I at least can get the certifications, I can get the technical knowledge required. Another part for me was that I dropped out of university. So especially back in the day when I started with Salesforce, my CV was really poor because I did stay at university for a very long time. And then at the end still decided to drop out. So it was also a way to still get promotions and still rise in my role and in my career, and also in packaging compensation. So yes, a combination of that stuff, wanting to be the best in what you do, thinking it is achievable at some point, having the prereqs, and then also a bit of compensation for basically never finishing my studies.
Thank you. And like that, you also guys answered my next question. What motivates you to keep learning? But then we'll skip this one. And if people want to start, don't know where to start, what would be your advice? Someone is like, yes, I do, I'm not sure how. What would be your recommendation? Where to start? How to? Someone from the group here on the chatter asked the question. Can you share a piece of advice for starters in Salesforce who dream big? And I will start with Miriam this time.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, if you dream big, then just get started, right? So then I would say just start at the start of maybe the list that that Lilith shared, right? So do the core certifications, see if you like it, and I think besides doing all the studying, I think for me, if you have the possibility to find a job that brings you in touch with the stuff that with what you want to become or what you want to do, then that is a very easy way to kind of every day already learn what you want to learn to be on the journey, right? So for example, if I look at myself, I've been working as an architect for a long time now, and that helps me, right? I know that what I do in my day-to-day work, I run into the same problems. I need to design a sharing architecture. I need to think about security. I need to look at data volumes. I need to model the data. So all of that kind of helps me build and prepare for the exam. So if that is a possibility, or even if you can volunteer for tasks that expose you on your work or in your projects to the type of stuff that you wanna learn, yeah, that might be a way.
Okay, Kid, how would you?
Yeah, combination of what Miriam already said. So one part is getting your core certifications. So like Liv mentioned, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Community Cloud, or Experience Cloud nowadays. And also do adjacent ones like CPQ, Field Service. Another one is really getting the role. So quite a few people also think that CTA is something you can just study for. I would say it isn't. At least at some point in your preparation, you really have to get the architect role in your project as well. And as a majority of your role, I would say, so not 1 or 2 days a week or not a percentage, and that you're in a hybrid role where you're also developer or also a consultant. Really, at some point in your journey, you should become mostly architect to get the knowledge and experience to become a CTA. Reason for that is also the breadth of the review board. Like Lilith mentioned, it's not just technical knowledge about Salesforce. It's also enterprise architecture, it's business architecture, it's governance, it's communication, it's presentation skills. It's dealing with CXO stakeholders, so with C-level like stakeholders. In some ways, during the review boards, you have to assume that the judges are a bit like C-level stakeholders. So all that experience is something that you really have to be in the role for as well. So anything that you can do to pick up those tasks, and it doesn't have to be everything in one go. It can also be that you only take parts of that. For instance, lead a workshop, lead a meeting, deal with C-level stakeholders. That will already help you in progressing towards CTA. And also, like I mentioned already, is work on the prereqs and really invest the time. It's not about getting the exam. It's nice to know that you can pass a multiple choice exam with 60-70%, 65-70% passing score, but you need to pass all domains, and it's open questions, scenarios. So that makes it a lot harder. So study on the prereqs, study on the core, and get the role. That will be my biggest advice.
Okay, Jonida, I know that you will say, and as they said, so I will add a little bit question from the public saying that, okay, I'm an admin, just started to be an admin. I want to be CTA. How long do you think it can take for someone who's not having experience with, for the moment, entering in the Salesforce world, but dreaming big? Why not? How do you think, how would you start, and how long would it take, you think?
Okay, so how long it takes, I cannot really say. It really depends on the person and how much he or she is willing to give. But definitely, if you have the admin certification, for instance, and actually don't say dream big, because a really good admin, there is nothing better than a really good admin. That's already big, first of all. So please, just because someone is a CTA does not mean that it's the highest, and so on. But there can be people that are admins and they smash it. And they really do a really good solutioning already. So if you are a really good admin and you work on that, that's already really great. And then maybe you have like the opportunity to say, okay, I will work on certifications. Sometimes it's also nice to do trailheads, to have your initiatives, although I know there are some people saying, yeah, trailheads are a lot of waste of time. But I think there are also a lot of things that you won't usually use in your daily job, because it's not like, let's say, if you're not a consultant and not having all the time like different businesses working for and different requirements, then you probably maybe never will be doing a chatbot or whatever implementation. But still, this is worth it to look into, because that's why you are working also on certification, because there will be certain requirements in the future where you maybe have other clients or going to someone else as a working consultant or something, and then you will have a lot of alternative solutions to give. So the more you're working on it, the more you can grow into it. And I know also people that are a lot like only admins only, which I don't think it's an only if you're a good one, that can really solution great things already. And they are passing like this certifications, like, I don't know, in 2 months, all of it. And then going for the CTA, for instance. Also that happens. So it can be like a very short amount of time. But it can be also, it can take years. For me, it took like the last 2 years to, well, I think 2019, I finished the prerequisites in October. And then I was really scared about the CTA review board. I thought like, okay, half a year, I won't do anything. I don't know if I can do it. Maybe I don't. And then I started. So it's a procedure that everyone has to do differently. But yeah, starting, what Miriam said, starting is the first step, and just doing it.
Cool. So then my last question from myself, from us to you, and if anyone wants have more questions, please don't hesitate to put them. So what next? What will be your step after? I know that we are now dreaming, not big dreaming of the after exam stuff. So on one hand, how will you react, or what will be your action, and then what will be your next step? So you have already in mind, oh, I have, like Lily said, another certification. I thought that it's finished with CTA, but okay, I learned something today that, oh, I have another certification that I want to do after this, or this is only the step, or it's like, no, it's the end point. Now I will like go on a year sabbatical or whatever. How do you think it will go after the exam? And I will start Jonida because she's still unmuted.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have a double mute, but yeah. So I was also muted. But yeah, I think I will procrastinate. I will take my kids out first to go for camping or something, the two boys here. And then I know myself, probably after 2 months, I will think like, oh gosh, there is another pyramid. I have to do the B2B solution architect now. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, Miriam.
You know, I'm almost afraid to kind of think about it, right? I'm really like focused on, okay, I want to pass the evaluation, then I want to get a date, then I want to do the thing. But if I allow myself to kind of dream that all of that is going to come to pass, then yeah, I would definitely relax and focus on I don't know, exercising more, you know, like doing different things than studying, and spending more time with my friends, hopefully also being able to explore Haarlem, where I just moved to. So that type of stuff, you know, like more personal time. But like I just said, I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen for, I don't know, maybe a few months. And then the blood is going to crawl somewhere else, right? So then, and then I'm going to do something like study something else. But yeah, first moments will be just chilling.
And kid, what's your plans for after?
Yeah, the short term, like Jonida and Miriam already mentioned, relaxing. Probably I was like Liv mentioned, some drinking. And after the partying is over, yeah, getting back to work. Also focusing on internal stuff. So working on a promotion, working on internal certification at Capgemini for enterprise architect. And in line with that, also expand on breadth. So not just Salesforce, but for instance, in the last 2 years, I already got some Scrum certifications, SAFe, TOGAF. And yeah, I mean, to continue on that line, as well as with additional sales certifications like the B2B and B2C solution architect. But there's always more to learn. And it's not just about Salesforce. To be the best sales architect, you also have to know about other technologies, maybe even competing ones. So it might also be good to know about other CRM systems and see how they compare to Salesforce. So maybe also along that line.
Okay, wow. You guys learning never stops for you. It's kind of not sure how I feel about that. Because we have one question from Lilith to you. So I have one question for Lilith, just to give you guys to catch up a little bit breath. There's one, someone asked, and this is like Kit now mentioned that you can know about different certification. One person asked, does CTA exam look for typical solution within Salesforce ecosystem, or is it also open for other platforms like
Both.
Azure, AWS, and stuff like that?
Both, in the sense that it's not just Salesforce, but the solution you're making must be in Salesforce. So there's really a concrete ask from the customer to move to a Salesforce solution, but that doesn't mean that everything in the scenario must be solved with Salesforce. You would have systems where they are already telling you to move to Salesforce. Then there are systems where they are asking for your advice, your recommendation. So should we stay with the current solution? Should we move to a different solution? If so, should there be Salesforce or something else? Then there's things like middleware. They might not have middleware yet, but you don't want to build all integrations point to point in code. So they will probably have to introduce a middleware solution. But you shouldn't solve the CRM requirements in a different system. So if you suddenly introduce Microsoft Dynamics, then they're probably not going to be very happy with you.
Let's say you can also, for instance, if you have, for instance, archival requirements, that then you might not only think about own backup as an app exchange tool, but you could also think about AWS, RDS or whatever. Or you could think about Azure, as you said, Azure DevOps, for instance. You can have all your deployment and DevOps within Azure, or Azure for identity management you can use if you don't want to use Salesforce identity, for instance. I mean, it's always, you will have use cases where also you have a client already, there is already maybe a setup, and you have to adhere to it, and it might not be the Salesforce setup. They might already have, for instance, Azure. So I think that it's good to know about technology and about what else is there, and for instance, what telephony systems are there. Is it like to know about, for instance, Twilio, to know about Amazon Connect, to know about this kind of stuff? That makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Okay, so then the question is, next question would be, what surprised you? I will not ask you what surprised you during the exam, because it's way before that, but during the preparation, you had like moment like, I didn't expect that. What was the thing during your journey till now, from the beginning till the moment now, that you were surprised, you kind of didn't expect that? It came like, whew, what's that? Oh, this happened. Miriam, did you have any moment like that?
Yeah, so for me, like I was looking at the question and thinking about it. I think what is most surprising to me still is the extent of ups and downs, let's say, that are part of this this journey. So one day I can feel like I'm pretty ready. I think I know my stuff, and then the next day I do a mock and I'm totally very deep in the pit. Just like thinking that I will never be able to do it, right? And that it keeps on going up and down like that. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Okay, Jonida, can you confirm, or you have different aha moments? You double muted now.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I have also whiplash a lot. So it's like sometimes I think, oh my God, I'm not capable of doing it all. I cannot do it. But then the other day I think, oh, that scenario really worked out for me. And it was, I think I did it. But then it's kind of, nothing is true. It's not true that I really smashed it, but also not that I don't know it at all. So it's really a big you don't know what you don't know, so you have to really also talk to other people, and this is a great thing also about our study group, first of all, and about, for instance, things like Flow Republic, where you can learn and also meet other people to talk to about certain solutions that you have in mind, and to get all the considerations also from their experience. That's really great. So what was surprising for me, it's also a very boring road. I know we're doing now a lot of marketing and it's great and it feels like, yeah, you can do it if you want to do it, but it's very boring. You have to learn a lot, and you're all the time, every day, you're just learning. So don't feel like, you're the superstar, but you have to learn, and you have to really, sit on your mat and do it.
Thank you. Kit, your
very
surprise
similar.
moment?
So the biggest surprise was for me the gap between having the prereqs and being ready for the board. That's something that's can be a little bit misleading, especially back when I started with the pyramids in 2018. There was some suggestion, illusion that if you had the prereqs, you were pretty close, and you're actually nowhere near. Although it also depends very strongly on your experience. So, for instance, Arjan is a CTA in the Netherlands. Can't think of his last name at the moment, but anyway, he was already a program architect for a different stack, not for Salesforce, but for a different platform. And he then switched to Salesforce. But because he had tons and tons of experience as an architect already, he managed to get from 0 to CTA in Salesforce in just a year and 9 months, I believe. So it all depends on where you're starting. If you're starting from a sales point of view with just the prereqs, then it could take a very long time before you're ready. If you already have years of experience as an architect and the prereqs, the pyramid is the end of your preparation, then it can go much faster. So it was one of the biggest surprises. The other one was the number of false peaks, which is basically in line with what Miriam said, the ups and downs. So sometimes you, and also what Jonida just said, sometimes you think you're almost there, and then you have the sudden realization, ah, crap, I'm not there at all. There's so much I have to study in this area. And it also really depends on from scenario to scenario. Some scenarios just fit you because you know about the industry, you have some experience there, and others focus on a different industry and maybe also have slightly different weight between the domains. So they focus maybe a little more on integration or a little more identity management. And if those are not your strong areas, then maybe in that scenario, you're performing much weaker. So it really depends on your day, your mood, your strengths in a couple of areas, and in the scenario you're getting.
Cool. Thank you so much. And then for last moment, because there was a question, so it's not possible to do, and you can just one word, yes, no, maybe, because there is like, so if I don't have experience, but is it possible for me to even go for CTA if I don't have architectural experience? If I'm just, having prerequisites, I will have it, of course, I will pass them all, but then without architectural experience, is it possible, or
no? I would say strong no. You really have to be an architect. It's not something you can just study for.
Okay, Miriam, agree?
Well, I would say it depends on how long you are willing to stay on the journey, right? So I think you can start that way, and eventually that probably will also lead you, if you still like it, to some actual experience. But then it will just take longer. So I'm going to say maybe.
Jonida?
Yeah, also we'll stick to the maybe. So you have to start and then get into the role, and you need also the implementation work. You need to be also the architect and to see yourself as an architect to get there.
And Lilith? I
Oh,
get
so
the sense
happy
also like that.
So happy you asked. I was about to raise my hand, like, please.
I could see that.
No, I completely agree. And I would even go one step further with the maybe, in the sense that I think if you're on the journey, if you're really honing your skills as an architect through the theory and the practicing of the mocks, I think you will actually create opportunities for yourself to take on those types of roles. I know I did. I know that I was more eager to, hey, there's this data governance thing that you want to propose, put me on it. And then I spent my entire Christmas break preparing, a presentation about data governance for them. So, I think it's a two-way street there. It's all about, indeed, how much time do you want to spend and what opportunities do you want to take out of it?
But we can agree that having more certification, it always opens up other doors, right? There are some certification that you can just learn and by understanding, but playing with even playgrounds and trailhead. But then at one point you do need to have the experience. But having certificates helps with experience, and having experience helps with certificate.
Yeah.
Hope I answer your question.
Yeah.
Yes,
also
Kate.
to maybe go back. So my no was really in relation to the CTA board itself. So I would say that for the board itself, you definitely need experience. But for me, it was also in line with what Miriam, Jonida, and Lilith just said. I also started with the certifications before I was an architect, and the sort of getting system architect and getting application architects gave me the opportunity to also get an architect role. So you don't have to be an architect already to start on the journey. Definitely not. Of course, it helps if you already are, but it's not a necessity. But when you go for the board, by that point, you definitely need architect experience as well.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jonida, Miriam, Kip, and Lilith for making this meeting with us. And I will pass to Tanya.
Yeah, I can also say thank you so much. It was really interesting and informative, and yeah, you're all great people, and you all have the passion that really comes through. So thank you.